Hello and welcome to the Small Agency Talk Show. I am excited to have two of my favorite people here, and only one of them paid me to say that. So you'll have to guess which one, but we all know which one it is. So, in any case, my two guest co-hosts today on the Small Agency Talk Show, Karen Swim from Solo PR Pro. Welcome back, Karen.
Thank you for having me.
And next is my co-host on the Agency Leadership Podcast, the diva, Gini Dietrich.
Oh, geez. I was on time today.
But you were not expecting to be on time. So Karen and I dressed up in appropriate fashion for appearing alongside a diva. And
yes, we did.
So that was our yeah. But we're over the next 30 minutes, we're going to talk about really whatever comes to mind. I think we're going to be talking about GameStop. We're going to talk about fitted sheets. We're going to talk about whatever Troll Captain Ultra, a.k.a. Jason Falls, wants to put in the YouTube chat, because I see he's already active and he has already speculated that Gini is the one who paid. I'm sorry, Gini. And he says that I look like a butler. So
I love it.
And I feel like a butler, Jason. I mean, that's how I feel. Anytime I am on the show with these, I feel like I am the butler, just there to, facilitate so that they can shine. And
I would very much like a drink. Dirty martini, some blue cheese stuffed olives, please.
Well, sometime we'll do the Small Agency Talk Show at night when it's a little more appropriate. It's not even noon where you are, Ginny.
It's close enough. And it's Friday.
Okay.
Speaking of butlers, did you see that Biden had to remove the Diet Coke button from the Oval Office?
Yes, I saw that.
That's my favorite.
Is it really? See, and I'm thinking if I could have anything.
Have you ever had Diet Coke, Ginny?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
It's really good at cleaning bugs off your car windshield.
Is it really?
It really is.
Okay.
That's good to know. That is a good tip. That's a very good tip. Thank you.
Is that good to know?
It is good to know.
If I could have a button and have anything delivered, I'm thinking it probably would not be Diet Coke.
In the Oval Office, I'd be like, the button would be things like a glass of really good red wine or, I don't know, snacks.
Well, Jason suggests bourbon instead of Diet Coke.
I mean, bourbon too.
That works for me.
Do we really want our nation's president, the one with the nuclear codes, to be drinking bourbon in the Oval Office?
That's also fair.
I don't know. Maybe.
On that note, before we start going too far down that rabbit hole and we either get ourselves banned or we lose all of the two viewers that we have, we're going to actually move into something more relevant. Like GameStop. GameStop, I know, is something that is on the tips of everyone's tongue this week. It is, I mean, if you haven't heard the GameStop news, I'm not sure what you read, what you consume for media, but basically GameStop is a failing company, and not surprisingly, because they're basically the Blockbuster of video games, sort of. And so what's funny, that's true. I mean, they sell cartridge and DVD video games, which, unless you are, a classical game player, blah, blah, blah. I mean, if you buy a modern console system, you download your games, right? I mean, you guys know that when you play video games all the time, I'm sure. All the time.
Karen and I play each other.
We do.
Yeah, we're in Discord. We have a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, Discord. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, again, another rabbit hole we're not going to go down. So, in any case, there were a bunch of institutional hedge fund short seller types who were betting that GameStop was going to fail. Their stock price was going to go down. I think it was trading at about $18 a share, something like that. And long story short, some folks on Reddit decided that it would be a good idea to teach those guys a lesson and drive the share price up. So they bought options and accelerated the growth all the way up to, I think, $380-ish, maybe more at the peak.
Yeah, and I think it's overnight it did something I didn't see, but I think it overnight continue to accelerate.
And a lot of the people who were making these trades were on a service called Robinhood, which is a trading platform designed to bring in more retail investors, a lot of folks who were not traditionally investors. My son, is full disclosure, who is a freshman in college, has been trading on Robinhood for over a year. He loves it. But those are the kinds of folks. Did he make a bunch of
money on this?
He stayed away from this.
Oh, he did.
He trades in other stuff. He's mostly into biotech, and he believes in actual research and that kind of stuff. And
so somehow that doesn't surprise me if he's your son.
It surprised me, but that's a story for another day.
And sure actually, I think I saw a statistic. I think it was from Business Insider that said that more than 50% of Robinhood users had purchased GameStop. That's pretty.
Wow.
Hefty.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, and they didn't just stop with GameStop. It was, I mean, it
Back and Beyond.
Blockbuster, BlackBerry, Nokia, like brands that have either filed for bankruptcy or are on their way down. So.
Right. Yeah. AMC movie theaters was part of this. They, they're playing with a whole bunch of things. Now, look, we're not an investment show. We're not going to tell you how you should invest your money. We're not really going to talk about whether short selling is a good or a bad idea and whether hedge funds are good or bad. That's not the point of this. We're communicators. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how this is relevant from a communications perspective. And I think there are a lot of lessons to be learned out of this. And I know that just from watching the interview of the Robinhood CEO yesterday, there are some communications challenges here. I think that's being generous to his appearance on CNBC.
I think that's generous. Yeah.
I mean, it was if Twitter still had the fail whale, I think that would be what you would put up on the screen.
Ooh, that ages you a little bit. Why?
Not that much, and I'm also not that much older than you are.
You are still older than me.
Okay. All right, that's nice. Let's not go into the ageist stuff here, Ginny. Why don't you talk about, since you did a nice little video where, for whatever earthly reason, you decided that you were going to try to fold a fitted sheet while you were talking about.
Can you fold a fitted sheet?
No, but I don't try. Why,
Karen?
Who folds a fitted sheet?
So yeah,
oh no,
you can.
I can fold a fitted sheet because my mom taught me, and then I, got lax over the years. So I was like just obsessive about making my mother proud. So I watched like a million YouTube videos until I nailed it. And I can fold a fitted sheet, not as good as Marie Kondo, but it lays flat.
I feel like you should demonstrate this for us.
We will have
today. Maybe on a future episode. You will have to subscribe to the Small Agency Talk Show for the possibility that may be on one of Karen's future appearances.
Well, I also did
folding things. I bought a folding board for my clothes, and sometimes I just like to take them out of the drawer, unfold them, and fold them again because it's so much fun.
Wait, now what?
You know that there are women in this world who take laundry out of the dryer and put it in the basket and then leave it there until they do laundry again. Those women don't like you very much right now.
Well, then there are my kids who put the wash in the laundry.
I have had to come up with new forms of entertainment. My dog really does so much.
Fair.
See, my kids take the wash out of the dryer and then go into their room and they turn it upside down and dump it onto their floor where it was while it was dirty. So when you walk in there, you don't know if the pile is clean clothes or dirty clothes.
That would
and honestly, they don't know either until they pick it up and they sniff it. I'm like, okay, that's great. That's fantastic. Teenage boys, you gotta love it. Anyway, can we get back onto this topic here?
I just have to add this and then we can get back on topic. I also watched some videos on how to fold a fitted sheet. And I found one where the woman put her arms in each corner and her legs in each corner, and then she laid down and she rolled herself up, and then she pulled her arms and legs out of it. And I was like,
that's essentially what you did in your video.
That is one way to fold a fitted sheet. It doesn't work.
Okay. Can we
right,
get back
anyway,
to like something halfway agency related so that, you know, even Jason doesn't decide to tune out at this point? Because, you know, it's nice having one viewer, but I'd like to have more than that one day.
All right. Okay.
Okay. All right.
All right. Oh, okay. So here is what I think about all of this GameStop stuff is we have been so focused on social media monitoring and listening, but we're paying attention to what happens on the surface web, right? We're in the mainstream social media networks. Reddit almost is never paid attention to. Certainly not 4chan and 8kun. I don't even know. Like all of the stuff in the deep and dark web. Most social media monitoring listening tools don't pay attention to that stuff, but that's where they're organizing groups like this that are online agenda driven. They're the ones that are organizing there. And then by the time they come mainstream, it's too late. So you think about things like QAnon was all into saying that Wayfair was trafficking children in their cabinets. By the time that made it to mainstream, it was too late for Wayfair. So what I want communicators to be thinking about, and as you think about it for your clients as well, is how do we use technology to figure out when the conversation starts so that you can be prepared and ready for when it becomes mainstream.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a great lesson. Yeah, I'm making you move, Ginny, because you weren't centered. So I figured if I use this view, you might center yourself.
Now I have to like.
In any case, so but I think, you know, since we talk a lot here and on the podcast and other places about the importance of agencies, no matter what your particular specialty is, having knowledge of the areas that are around you. So even if you do just traditional media relations, you need to be aware of all of these other things, even if you're not actively engaging there, because it helps you to better understand the environment in which your client lives in which your communications are going out.
Yeah, just had a power outage. I love that you mentioned being aware of these other channels. So I love Reddit, and I do monitor the conversations that are happening around clients. The interesting thing about Reddit is sometimes you also get intelligence about how people are using your services or your products. Yep. From the Reddit forums. If you track them, that's valuable. You'll find some of your champions and advocates. I love the threads that sometimes I'll see client mentions and someone's asking a question and someone else is recommending a client and they're telling them about a positive use case. You would never know these things are happening if you're not tracking those conversations. So I think that is such a key point that you made, is that we can't limit our listening to Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And I would argue that on their own, brands are not doing any of that well. It really does take a professional communicator to help with that part of your program. Brands left to their own devices are terrible at it. They really are. And there's so many tools that can help to automate that to a degree, but they typically don't do that. They think about posting and they think about checking in here and there, but they're really not listening.
You're right. You're right. And I think too, there's the automatic word filters. Like you may say, I'm trying to think of an example. You may have an automatic word filter on swear words, profanity, hate speech, but there's also a level of human that needs to be involved in that, because there could be a conversation happening that is actually relevant and somebody might use a swear word and then it gets deleted or moderated out, and then it causes another issue. So I think you're right in that there has to be the technology plus the human piece of it to bring it all together.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the other thing is, from an agency perspective, this is not just good for your client; it's good for your business, right?
Yeah.
So by this presents you with additional opportunities that you can use to help educate the client, or that you can help to pitch on new projects or expanded scope or whatever. So part of it's results, but since a lot of what we talk about on this show is the business of agency life, this is a business opportunity as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Karen, I think you're right too, in that even as agency owners, if we have a system inside our agencies, or we're doing it ourselves, that listens for client mentions like that in places where maybe the technology isn't yet there, but we're doing it as humans. You know, you're in Reddit paying attention to the subreddits. We have a client who inadvertently found one of their clients, who I will not mention, but they make drills and things, that people were using their tools for not good things that were actually dangerous. And they found it in Reddit subreddits and they found it in subreddits, and went to the client and said, hey, listen, we just found this subreddit, and this is, people are like bragging about how they're using your tools to do things. One guy was using a drill to what's the word I want? Make his gun better. That's not the word I want, but you know, like that kind of, yeah. So
I think make his gun better. That's the technical term. I think if you go to a gunsmith, that's how they would describe it.
make my gun better. But I think there's value in paying attention to that kind of stuff.
Yeah. You know, I think also another point or another lesson that we can learn from this, it reinforces this revolution mentality that has overtaken the United States. We're, as communicators, we're operating in a very toxic environment. And it's so, crisis planning has never been more critical. You need to be ready for the next group of, you know, pissed off citizens to take you down. And it's not that hard to make them mad. I mean, I think people are just mad. They're mad. And maybe it's the pandemic. Maybe we've been locked down, restricted, you know, too many protocols, masked up for way too long. And people are taking that pent up anger and they're turning it outward on the rest of the world, because there's so many revolutions happening right now. I can't keep track. Like, you know, I wake up and I go, well, who are we supposed to be mad at today? You know, who is it?
I think the better approach when you're mad at somebody is to put on a bow tie or a crown. And that's how you
I think that those are very good solutions.
Much healthier ways.
Or you fold fitted sheets, because yes, Jason Falls, I have no life right now.
And apparently neither does Jason, because he is paying me back for all of my snarky comments in his live stream, 8 a.m. on Tuesdays on YouTube, if you'd like to watch Digging Deeper with Jason Falls. And he is saying lovely things like shooty more nicely. But on a more serious note,
I like that better, actually.
On a more serious note, he did say that the most successful pitches he's ever had wowed the prospect with intel that he gleaned from social listening, and I think that's absolutely right. I mean,
love that.
And people share all sorts of things on social media that they probably shouldn't, and so it can be a great intelligence gathering thing. I mean, I've had situations where I've been able to tip off client CEOs to protests at their personal residence based on things that were, you know, chatter going on places like, you know, Reddit or Twitter or those kinds of things. And so to have that is really, really valuable and can really help strengthen the relationship that your agency has. Well, any more thoughts on this before we move to another topic? Because I like to, you know, it's like the SATs here. We got to cover a variety of different topics. And Gini, I know you haven't been a guest on this panel yet, but since Karen has, she knows that we give ourselves an SAT style score at the end just to tick off the College Board. So so be thinking along the way about, you know, what you've done well and what you haven't, so we can do that 1,600 point scoring system.
Okay, no problem.
So anything else on GameStop? Robinhood? Did you guys see the Robinhood CEO interview on CNBC?
I didn't see his interview. No,
I didn't see it.
I think you probably could have grabbed an intern at GameStop, and it would have been.
Was it the intern?
It was not, but he was having a very difficult time, I think, communicating effectively the message, and he ended up coming across almost as if they were having liquidity problems in the business, and that was why they had made the decision to block trading, because that's why he was on, because GameStop unilaterally decided to block trading. Not trading, to block purchasing. So they were allowing sales. If customers already had GameStop in their portfolios or their accounts, they could sell it, but they couldn't buy any.
And they came under fire for siding with Wall Street.
Right. And I mean, and again, this is not an investing show. I think you don't really want to have individual trading platforms making those kinds of decisions because regardless of whose side you would argue that is on. And I think people do have to be careful here because, you say, oh, the hedge funds are getting screwed. At the same time, the hedge fund's biggest clients typically, and I don't know in this case who they are, but typically they are pension funds and other large institutional investors that, really are just on behalf of the little guy. But in any case, topic for another day. Let's pivot. Let's talk about a different kind of business issue. And this was a question that someone had sent in to me before the show, because one of the things I do for this is I solicit people to ask questions so that this.
Oh, so you prepared for this, but not for the podcast.
Oh,
I prepare more for the podcast than you do, Ginny, but anyway.
That is not entirely true.
Okay. Anyway, so the questions that I get for this are, sometimes I use them for this, sometimes I use them for other platforms. But if you have a question, I would love it if you would send it in. If you have questions in the chat, feel free to ask those there right now. Jason is dominating it. Maybe Jason can get some of his friends to come in and ask some questions too, although that may be dangerous as well. But in any case, this was a question that I had emailed into me in advance, and it's one that I know that I've had conversations with both of you before about, but I think it'll be useful to sort of have a shared perspective here. And this is from someone who is a small agency. I think they may even be a solo or sort of a super solo. How much time should I spend on servicing clients versus building the business, right?
Oh.
And I get this question a lot. I know you both do too, where someone just wants a definitive answer, like what percentage of your time or how many hours a week? And of course, that brings me back to the t-shirt that I'm not wearing and the way that I end every agency leadership podcast, which is it depends. But how would both of you answer that question, or how do you both answer that question when you get it?
I always say, and I agree with you, it's hard to nail down a percentage, but I always say that building the business is really your primary job. Getting the work done is the easiest thing, I believe, as a business owner that you can do, because you can hire people. If you choose not to go the employee route, you can definitely contract with, seasoned talent. So getting the work done is where everybody spends 100% of their time worrying. And it's really building the business. It's your business. You're the face of the business. I think that, prospecting and nurturing and cultivating your pipeline is your number one activity, and it needs to be factored into your daily activities. I think it's something that you do continuously. You don't do that when, you lose a client, which is the normal way that a lot of small businesses react. They wait until the business is gone and then they start working on their pipeline. You keep that pipeline full at all times. And, to me, if you spend 100% of your time doing that, or 90% of your time doing that, and 10% managing how the work gets done, you're going to come out on top. Having a full pipeline is one of the reasons that you get to be in business. No clients, no business. And
weird.
The more that you're, keeping that full pipeline also gives you choices. And I feel like it helps you to be more strategic in the work that you take on, because you're never operating from a place of desperation. Mm-hmm. You're always operating from a place of power and a place of choice. I don't know about anybody else, but I love being able to choose the work that I do and the people that I work with. I can't do that if I don't have the opportunity to part ways with somebody that's not a good fit for me. If you feel like, oh, I can't, because I can't afford to lose that money, because I don't have, anybody else that's waiting in the wings, then you're in trouble. So I don't have a specific percentage, but I will say I think it's the most important job that you have to do.
I 100% agree with that. And when I think about it, if you want a definitive percentage, when you work in a big global agency, you start out as an account coordinator or an assistant AE, and you're 95% billable. But as you're promoted through the ranks, that billing percentage goes down. So by the time you reach mid-level, like managing super VP, you're billing 50% of your time, and 50% of your time is focused on new business development. As you continue to grow, you become senior vice president, you join the executive team, or you become a partner, it goes to about 90% new business, 10% client facing. So if you think about it from your own perspective, and it goes exactly to what you're saying, Karen, 90% of your time should be spent on building the business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, the more time that you can spend building the business, the more likely you are to build the business, right? It's like anything else. Generally speaking, that which you are spending time on will get better, and that which you are not spending time on will not. And so, if you can build a model where you've got team members who are doing the work, that's really where you need to be going. I think, particularly if you're starting out as a solo, or you've just got, maybe some contractors, 1 or 2 employees even, you should be assuming from the get-go that you will not spend more than half of your time on client service. So literally from day one. And I know a lot of people, when they're first starting out as solos or freelancers, they sort of think in terms of, well, if I do 40 hours a week of client work, I need to charge this to get that. You cut that in half. Yeah. Assume that your billable time, even if you don't bill by the hour, is only half of your available work hours. You're unlikely to, even as a solo, be ever able to fill more than that on a consistent basis. And so if you start with that mindset, you then don't get to that place that a lot of you I know who are listening right now are in, where you're saying, I'm at 80% of my time on client. How do I pull it back? Right? So just start at 50. Price yourself and price your projects so that 50% gets you where you need to be. And that will put you in a better place, I think. And you both know I hate rules of thumb. I don't like this, one size fits all. You need to have this much revenue per employee. You need to have an A who's this percentage billable. But if you forced me into that box, that's the number that I give, 50%, because I think that's as good a place as any to start, and then make adjustments based on your own particular
I think it's a great place to start. Yep, I agree.
I see that the chat is now going completely off the rails because Jason Falls and his son are getting into a feud in the chat.
Oh, good.
Although at first I thought one of the comments from Jason's son was from my son, and we were going to have speaks after this. But instead, Jason has told his son to go to his room, where he says he already is, so that's not going to happen. So,
homeschooling is so fun. It's so fun.
if you really are just looking for entertainment that's even crazier than we are on camera, you can go over to the YouTube chat right now, and Jason will keep you entertained. And just as he does to me, I'm not going to read a bunch of his comments because they're not really suitable for airing. So let's see. That was the main question that I had pulled in. What are some of the other topics? We've got a few more minutes here before we wrap up. Do either of you have things that have come up either in the Spin Sucks community or the Solo Pro community, Solo PR Pro community that that would be good to get the three of us to chime in on?
There's a lot of chat about Clubhouse.
Oh, let's do Clubhouse. Let's do Clubhouse. We can do this quickly. It's the new Second Life. Get over it. Move on.
my response to everybody who's like, what do you think? I don't need more Grant Cardone in my life, and he's everywhere there. Don't need him anymore.
So I like Clubhouse, but I don't hang out there for 6 or 7 hours at a time. I have
clothes.
Yeah, I filtered out my notifications. But I also think we don't need to be everywhere. The one and only reason that I joined Clubhouse is because there are a lot of venture capitalists on the site. And I have clients that are doing some really cool things connecting directly with founders. So it made sense from a professional standpoint for me to at least be there and to be able to offer some guidance. But, I think as communicators, we put too much pressure on ourselves to chase the new and shiny. Like, do I need to do that? Should I be doing TikTok? Do I need Snapchat? I don't do Snapchat. Should I be doing Instagram for business? Oh my God, I don't have an iPhone. Should I get it? No. Just chill out.
Right.
I mean, I promise you, in all honesty, you could do none of those things and still have a very successful business. If we're really being honest, you don't need any of that. You just need to know how to connect with your target audience. And so, yeah, I mean, I like it. I think it has some possibilities, but I'm not saying everybody should run out right now, stop Twitter, stop Facebook, delete all that and get to Clubhouse, only if it makes sense.
Yeah,
Chris Penn called it the world's longest conference call.
Well, yeah. And look, I mean, I love online audio. I've been doing online audio since 1997. So, you're not going to convince me that online audio is a bad thing. I've had podcasts for a long time. I spent far more time and money, on audio gear than is absolutely reasonable for any human being in the non-professional broadcast space. But I spent years trying to avoid conference calls.
Right.
Years. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I would voluntarily choose to go get on a conference call. I mean, I love video for these kinds of things because I think it's a different experience and you're connecting in a different way. But, people who say, well, I can listen to Clubhouse while I'm doing something else. Well, then you're not really paying attention to it. Right? I mean, I put TV shows on my TV in my office all the time. At the end of the show, I'm like, I don't really know what happened. Right? Because you can't do two things at once. Multitasking is a myth.
Yes, I agree.
That is true. I am guilty of sometimes doing something else and tuning into the parts that I really want to hear. But again, I'm not spending hours on it. I do like that it's audio. I do like that you can just have a conversation without being on video, without text. That's sometimes a nice break from the social media channels. And to be honest, if you are strategic about how you use it, you can actually pick up insightful information, and you can also discover needs, which is, something that's really helped with working with, the VCs and the fintech community, is that I tune into those conversations and I am hearing what people are really interested in. I'm seeing the questions, and then that's something that we're able to mine for future content, and, future things that we do. So that part of it, again, it's a client tool. If it makes sense, you can use it for business. If you want to try it for personal, but do you have to be there? Not really. You're not really missing out on anything. It's fine.
So basically Second Life, just like I said.
I love Second Life. Aww.
Oh, poor Second Life. Well, the last comment that I will share from the chat, i.e. from Jason, is I agree with Chip. I'm going to assume that's just for everything I've said today. So
now who's the one being paid? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm paying for this platform. I mean, as Ronald Reagan said, I paid for this microphone. So it is what it is. So on that note, why don't you each tell us where folks can find you online? I will not type URLs and screw them up like I did to you last week, Karen. But I'm still hoping that people understand that it's www. and not www, comma. But in any case, and after you tell people that, then give us our 1,600-point scale score.
Oh, am I going first?
You're going first, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Because you're up on the top of the screen. So
got it. So I am Karen Swim like swimming in a pool. You can find me on social media under my name everywhere. And please do visit soloprpro.com, soloprpro.com, and find out more about our little community there and our blog. And we also have a podcast. Love it if you would tune in addition to these lovely folks and all that they do online, because I listen to them and love them. They're among my favorites. And our podcast is That Solo Life. Not a dating show. Not a dating.
I love that you have to caveat it with that.
And the score?
Or is it?
What score are you going to give us?
Give us a 1,500.
Whoa.
That's what I would have done as well. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's impressive. All right.
You would not give us a 1,500?
I mean, collectively, I think I brought the score down a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
This week, I mean, the bow tie. I mean, I have to admit, Scott Monty, I doubt you're listening, but this is a clip-on bow tie.
Don't let Scott hear that. Now it's crooked.
Because I don't bother. I mean, I'm not the sartorial genius that you are, Scott. In any case, all right, Ginny, where are you? What's the score?
Spinsucks.com. You can find us on social at Spinsucks. You can find us at spinsucks.com. You can find a podcast, a book, a blog, all sorts of stuff, all Spin Sucks.
And a nice, pretty graphic. We got to talk about, I mean, the graphic is like the most important thing, especially with all the metaphysical stuff that goes along with it. Oh, that's an inside joke, but yeah. All right. And did you give a score? You didn't give a score yet.
1,500.
Oh, you did. You're right. Never mind. Sorry, I got distracted because Jason's given us a score too, and I think
what is Jason's score?
Whereas you all are very generous, I think he's being a little harsh. He's scoring us 1250, but you know, I mean, in fairness, where he's from, maybe 1250 is a little different. Oh, Jason, I love you, man. So I'm gonna go 1450. I think we need to be a little bit, you know, particularly with snooty little comments like that from a Northeasterner to a Southerner.
I think that's what makes the show.
We had Ginny here. I don't think there's ever a show with Ginny present that can be less than 15.
This is why I love you.
Wow.
I was not paid for that comment.
All right.
Let's do our own thing.
There you go.
You know, feel free. I'll just take myself out of this, and I'll just let you all have the airtime from now on. You know, you guys just, you know, pick on me just like usual. Anyway, you can find more about me, smallagencygrowth.com. You can join the Saga community for free and get into all sorts of free events, blah, blah, blah. And of course, if you are watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe and the notification icon down below, because that way you will never miss one of these episodes in the future. And we have these great shows every Friday, noon Eastern time. Rotating cast of characters, and yes, many of them are characters just like we had today. So on that note, we will draw this episode of the show to a close. Thank you all, I mean Jason and your son, for watching, and we'll be back here again next Friday, noon Eastern time. Thanks, everybody.